So, in this latest patch, there is a glitch where if you switch skill items, what happens is that the skills will be used as normal, but in their original slots. And for some reason, that also extends to the items having the same... how to explain it? The same cooldown and usage time as the item in the other slot. Well, you'll see exactly what I mean in a few seconds here, because it should be fairly obvious that there is one skill that can be used instantly and has no cooldown, called the Hunter's Grenade. Yes! So, you remember how I said in that 5-cell mode, like, watch out for flashing lights and all that sort of stuff, you know? Let's just say, viewer beware, you're in for a blaring lights, because this episode is going to make that one look like church. Hoo boy. Anyway, 4-cell mode, because if I'm going to be using a super hyper game-breaking glitch, why not go as hard as possible? And hey, I would say that skill right there, the Knife Storm, is probably one of the better ones to pick up immediately. Oh, and look, is that the Hunter's Grenade down there? Why, yes it is. Oh boy. Alright. Should speak for itself. Well, I mean, I have to get used to it first, but... And there you go. In all likelihood, this will be patched out by the time that this video goes up, or at the very least, within a day or two, because I can't imagine that this is going to be something consistently in the game after this point. Yeah, skills are not meant to be used instantly with no cooldown, hence the entire idea behind them having cooldown. And yes, I am going to try to look at pretty much every single skill and power that could possibly benefit from this sort of deal in the game. There we are. Good stuff. Not that having a whole bunch of fire grenades really helps all that much, because fire is fire. You don't really get extra fire, but the ability to do that definitely helps make it look interesting. I don't know. This is just a silly, stupid run with this weirdo glitch. So I don't really know exactly what I'm doing or what I'm going to be doing or anything with this. Obviously, if you're on the alpha branch, you can't get achievements or anything anyway, so don't think that it's going to be an easy win or anything like that just because you managed to throw 50,000 throwing knives into the hand's face. Didn't get hit. Which, speaking of that, one of the things that I learned kind of doing this is a little bit about how the skills actually work, or at least some of the skills that I wasn't entirely sure how they work. Biter Swarm, for example. Apparently you can only have out one Biter Swarm at a time, or two if you grab 2 Biter Swarms, but you can only have one instance of a Biter Swarm at a time. You'll see that a little bit later. And additionally, it's not as powerful as you think it is, because this... Ultimately, when you're throwing out multiple things at once, it works really great with grenades, it works really great with some powers. It doesn't actually work at all with turrets, for example, because turrets will overwrite each other. When you throw out a second turret, you don't get a... If a turret's off a cooldown, you throw out a second one, you don't get a second turret. What you do is you just replace the first turret. So this is mostly going to be using, yeah, like I said, grenades, like this. And a lot of grenades and a lot of powers don't... Like, they stack, certainly. Something like I think the most powerful combination that I found was using the Knife Storm with this. Jeez. But as you can see, like, this Elite, for example, I mean, this is on 4-cell mode, so I suppose it's not quite the same thing. But this Elite isn't going down immediately and without effort. You still have to actually, you know, play the game a bit. That was me trying to rally up a little bit of health after I got hit there. Yeah, you still have to play the game. This isn't a complete lock or anything to be insanely overpowered. I mean, oh yeah, it is insanely overpowered, but it's not, you know, turning on God mode overpowered. You still have to dodge around things. The infection mechanic is still in place. I have 3 points of infection right now. And, you know, overall, I think that if you want to actually use this to its maximum extent, you would use some kind of synergy or something with these weapons rather than just throwing out a million of them at once. And yeah, one of the other things that I think it really becomes apparent is that the big deal with using grenades and powers is that they have huge burst damage and not, you know, long-lasting damage. So that if you're able to get long-lasting damage, it makes them, what, roughly about as good as a decent turret? Which in some ways is a little disappointing, but at the same time, the fire grenade here, for example, is not meant to be used as a primary damage dealer. It's meant to be used to set up synergies with other stuff. Or as, you know, multiple sources of damage. Very diversified damage. I talked about this all in the last episode. So that makes sense. If I was actually grabbing something like a cluster grenade, for example, that would be different, I suppose. Because that at least does decent damage. I was honestly thinking about taking that just because, hey, I can make this the Spartan Sandal. Yeah, no, this is the furthest thing from anything resembling like a legitimate run. I would say that I can't really count this as far as... Ah, yes. Well, yeah, I can't really count this as far as like a showcase goes or whatever, because you can't really... I don't think this is an accurate representation of a lot of these items. But yes, here's where you can see that you can only have out one biter swarm per biter swarm at a time. And throwing down a second one actually just kills all the original ones, which, you know, I gotta tell you, Biter Swarm, I did a little bit more testing around with stuff. I tried to do an actual run with it. Gotta say, Biter Swarm is pretty much straight up garbage, unfortunately. Yeah, that's right, I said it. Oh yeah, also you might notice that the throws out X amount of knives apparently has a pretty hefty cooldown on it, since otherwise I would be throwing out millions and millions of knives along with all these bombs too. But yeah, Biter Swarm, pretty much straight up garbage. I'm sorry, Biter Swarm. I really want to like you, but the biters die too easily, and if you grab something like an Ice Bow or a Frost Blast or whatever and make it so that, you know, biters are a little bit more hardy, all that really happens is that, yeah, if you're getting sick of seeing red, now see green. But yeah, they die too easily, even if you do get, like, freezing enemies and, you know, something to stop enemies from attacking your biters so they can do the maximum amount of damage. They still don't even do as good of damage as, like, a single usage of an explosive crossbow on an enemy. So I couldn't get them to work pretty much at all. Well, like I said, Frost Blast made it so that they almost kind of worked, but not really. Maybe on a single target enemy, your Inquisitors or whatever, they could actually function, but not there. Anyway, yeah, can you multiple snare an enemy? No. And multiple effects don't really stack. For example, you might think Corrupted Power. I will actually use this a little bit later on. You might think if you hit Corrupted Power like 50 times, then you're suddenly going to be doing 2 million damage per second. Nah, only works once. Animation still goes off, though. Oh, don't worry. If any questions that you may have will be answered in this episode. It is going to be pretty comprehensive and we're off to the races. Oh, yeah. I love it. I don't know exactly how many you can have out at once because they all kind of... The magnet grenade gets attracted to itself, especially when you have a bunch in a single area. I don't even know where that elite was. Well, at least when I was playing the game. Oh yes, and the frame rate becoming bad, that is in the game. No, it's not happening. No, it's not the video screwing up. It's, oh, it's gonna be popping off. Don't worry about that. So, I've talked about Magnetic Grenade before. Its big thing is that it attacks enemies through walls and can, you know, keep enemies in a specific area. Guess how well that works when you have, you know, 6 or 7 magnetic grenades all in the same spot because the magnetic grenades are attracted towards magnetic grenades. This is not an optimal weapon to use, but you know what? It is the silliest weapon to give out that. Apparently there was a tornado happening outside for 5 seconds, so they had to play a horrible alarm that was easily picked up on the microphone. Anyway, speaking of tornado, actually, I did not use the tornado in this run. And I didn't use phaser. Those are the only two blind spots. I mean, phaser, I think you can kind of guess how that would work exactly. And I don't think tornado would actually work because, much like I realized with the death orb, or even biter swarm there, the first instance of a single tornado, death orb, biter swarm, etc. will replace the second one. If you have two biter swarms, then you can have two out at maximum, but otherwise... Huh. I guess, This reminds me a lot of Sonic CD, where you would go back and forth to go into, like, the future zone, so I guess the cannibal there managed to get himself into Rampart's bad future. Oh well, I'm sure the music is probably pretty rocking there. Anyway, I was getting a little high on infection and life, so getting rid of that is maybe one of the better ideas, even if I don't get the maximum amount of healing. You know, not that strategy really matters here, but hey, I can make Inquisitors fly. That's a thing. If there was ever something that was not meant to be used this many times, it is Magnetic Grenade. I mean, it's the frame rate alone should kind of indicate that pretty easily. Oh, hey, and I finally got the usage where I pulled an enemy off of into a pit for once. Yeah, I think one of my favorite things is that eventually it gets to a point where even the grenades kind of are suspended in air if you get them at the right angle, so they stop activating. Good stuff. Oh no, I'm missing out on some stats. How am I ever going to compete in this particular run? Yeah, here's where I decided, you know what? Just forget getting near enemies in any way. The damage is terrible. I mean, you need a synergy and then like a 2 times damage to make Magnetic Grenade actually do damage in even the best circumstances. So there's where you start to realize that, yeah, that pull is pretty effective. Also, biters, or flying biters, not really working out too well. And similarly, the retaliatory grenades that are spawned by the by enemies that die the cannibals are also doing pretty good. The biters that I'm spawning by killing enemies, not so much. You got a really good slingshot on the cells there, at least. For whatever point that could possibly be. I don't know, maybe Motion Twin will eventually put in a mode where you have to dodge around a cell for as long as possible. That's something like what a hack would put in, I don't know. Yeah, I think the best way to use this, if there was a best way, and there's not, would be throwing them, trying to get them so they're always going downwards and will hit the ground and actually activate. So otherwise they just get pulled in the direction of... Man, that is silly. It's something like Oil Grenade, who cares? Doesn't really matter at all. Something like... I don't know, Ice Grenade. Ice Grenade is pretty much the exact same as the Frost Blast run I did a while ago, so it's not really too much to be shown doing that there. Yeah, this definitely also makes any enemy that doesn't die immediately also becomes extremely unpredictable, which is why I eventually didn't actually successfully complete this run, because I think I took too many points of infection damage by the end, just because I kept getting hit by Elite Inquisitors, or think of the castle, any sort of Guardian Knight would still be able to get off their spinny tornado attack. No, just because you can throw out a million of these things doesn't mean that they're actually good. Well, maybe against biters. Kind of. Yeah, I really have to think hard about what the stats I want to take are. Oh, this is also going to be the more difficult of the various routes that you can take. Not quite to the point where I was going into the... Oh, game, you are too kind. But I don't get the +2 stats on the legendary magnetic grenade, and I'm already building brutality because, you know, grenades, so whatever. But yes, I am going to be going to the graveyard, even though, you know... There's no real point, but I don't know. I mean, you get to see more biters get pulled into the electrical storm that's going on here. Also, a lot of audio glitches, and there's so many crazy amounts of lighting effects going on that it's actually... You could see it a bit better in the Sepulchre if I was doing it, but you would notice that the lighting effects actually... so many are being taken up by using the magnetic grenade that it actually becomes, like, lessened everywhere else. Like, there's actually you can actually see the optimization happening live on screen. It's kind of weird. So yeah, I grabbed a ×2 damage modifier on this because, I don't know, try to do some amount of damage. I mean, certainly this isn't bad damage, but bosses and elites are not affected at least as much by pulling. Maybe if there's 15 magnetic grenades on screen, they're affected a little bit more. And not so much with the tentacles, though, as far as I can tell. Of course, I wasn't able to really get a good look when doing it in here because I was too afraid of taking a ton of damage and a ton of... That was a good animation. I was afraid of taking too much damage and too much infection points by getting hit by things because I was focusing on throwing down grenades. Boy, did my controller really get a workout on this one. Yeah, for some reason I didn't have the brilliant idea to map the, you know, use skill function to one of the face buttons until the second run I did. I mean, the damage is good, but I've had better damage using a halfway decent turret at the same time, too, so, Yeah, tentacles don't seem to be affected by the pulling at all. I mean, their animation seems to be a little affected, but not the tentacles themselves. Taking a ridiculous amount of hits here. It's like you don't get any more flash charges in this mode, so... But then again, this is also just kind of a run I did as a goof anyway, so I'm not super worried about being as legitimate as possible, you understand? Does really make me think that maybe I should be using a little bit of... using something like, I don't know, that could actually be a halfway decent weapon. Using something like Cheetah Engine in the future to, like, tease out some of these weirder, crazier runs. But then I realized, it's like, you know, my usual MO for commentary is to talk about strategies and analysis and crap, and that kind of goes out the window when you're using something that is clearly a glitch that's going to be patched out soon enough. So... It's like, aside from, like, being like, it's a lark, there's not too much useful in this run. Like, even with the 5-cell mode, I could at least talk about, like, what the strategy would be if you conceivably wanted to beat that. This is just nonsense garbage. Sound glitches, good stuff. Cannibals pushing me out of the way of hitting the Beliar's rune area, good stuff. Yeah, you can see the host zombies are just absolutely destroyed by this. It's a good thing that I took that minus damage on traps thing here. Because I knew if you're going to be taking 2 times damage, I think traps are kind of your worst enemy, since they tend to be the most... Well, they tend to hit me more consistently than any actual enemy, comparatively, so that would be the #1 thing that I think I would be dying to. And I'm not entirely sure if you can get a 4 times modifier on a skill. I have not seen it yet. I would guess it would be possible, but I have no idea. Otherwise, I probably would have gone for that. Man, having a ton of crushers down would be fun, but again, once you throw down the second one, it would just replace the first one. So, what are you gonna do? Here's where I was trying to finagle getting the bomb to hit that Inquisitor there. Was not working very well. And there we go. Like it was grabbed up by a million tentacles. Flown to the ceiling so he could do his opera number or something. Fortunately, enemies don't take damage when... Yep, hit through walls, see? Unfortunately, enemies don't take damage when you're picking up a scroll. But apparently they're still affected by the movement, so I don't know. Yeah, I think like 4 times damage would be the way to go with this. Or, you know, actually get some sort of synergy, like plus 100 on burning target or whatever, and grab like a torch. But again, does strategy really matter when you're doing something like this? This is clearly not even the optimal... Oh man, that catcher actually got really close. Defenders are still obnoxious as... just the little motion they make when they're going right towards you. That... Grenades getting attracted to other grenades, making it hard to hit enemies. Just a black hole of death. Also, when I killed, like... there's that ×2 damage. Was not doing me any favors. But yeah, additionally, the... Oh, there you go. I mean, as fun as Magnetic Grenade is, I think it's kind of overstayed its welcome, especially now because I'm kind of dying. So, cluster grenades. You know those grenades that are like multiple grenades? Here you go. Not nearly as bombastic or crazy, but you know what? As far as damage goes, also this has 2 times damage again, so... Well, I mean, I am surviving single hits, so I guess it's not that bad. It's not that good either, but still. Yeah, this sort of... Yeah, I would either say for huge burst damage... and long cooldown, something like Knife Storm or Cluster Grenade, this just totally obviates the entire issue with Cluster Grenade. Well, I mean, you know, I've talked before about how I think that cooldown reduction is maybe some of the most... the best mutation possible, and I think this is kind of proving me correct. Although in the most extreme example possible. Oh, even poison when enemies die, as if I even need it. As if any enemy could possibly survive this to get poisoned afterwards. 14 strength isn't even nearly as much as I could get if I was going for curses or something like that, too. So this damage is good, but isn't even as good as you could possibly get it. Spike boots are cool. Yeah, switch out punching for kicking. Why not? I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's fully leveled up, so I get the stat bonus anyway, and that's really the most important thing that I'm getting out of it. Because this ain't about using boots or punching fists. This is about using just thousands and about carpet bombing the world. Ooh, there's Knife Storm again. Or Knife Dance, I suppose it's called here. Oh, and also the Hunter's Grenade, for some reason, is called the Pokebomb. That feels like... It's much like a Super Mario mode, where... There you are. Much like Super Mario mode, where I feel like I want to, you know... put my hand on Motion Twin's shoulder and be like, Guys, you're gonna get sued. You're gonna get sued. What are you even doing? I mean, now the Lore of Laceration actually looks like the spikes that appear in the game. Also, that exploding effect is definitely super helpful, too. Unfortunately, I have absolutely no tactics. Well, I have 4 tactics, which is not nearly enough to do much of anything with this. Which is too bad, because it looks awesome. And I'm sure that if I did build into tactics, that would be doing some amazing damage, because Aura of Laceration tends to do pretty good damage overall if you build for it. Denial Wave, even in the best of times, does not do good damage, though. Oh, yeah. However, you get to see that effect more times than is reasonable. I suppose if you wanted the maximum amount of enemy control, and also slowdown, just like hitting them back and forth like I'm playing volleyball or something. Unfortunately, I had to do that multiple times just to get it to work once, or just to kill a single enemy. I guess it also gave me the ability to see that the catcher there was going to attack. Yeah, it's basically worthless. Looks neat. I mean, I can't even kill these biters. That should kind of speak to how useful this is here. If I was building, if I got a really good affix, I think you might be able to get a poison enemies that it hits or whatever, then it could be decent, but as it is, not nearly worth taking. I mean, I'm still getting attacked by biters. So how about this instead? And yeah, there's where I check to see. So is it affecting my damage on the weapon? No. I don't know if that actually shows in the stat screen or not. Maybe I've just been playing too much Dungreed. Oh yeah, you can see there's how it, I'm getting more damage off of the poison and the electrocutes enemies near me than instead of actually hitting enemies with my main weapon. But I mean, it seems to activate, at least according to the animation. So yeah, I let it completely wear out there. Then I tried to go find just a regular enemy to hit. For example, there's a catcher there. So power up. And it's just the regular damage that you get from using it once. So, oh well. Hope springs eternal, but it didn't quite work here. What are you gonna do? Toxic Cloud. Works pretty much exactly like you think Toxic Cloud works. Why even try this out on an enemy? There's nothing going on there. Then Tonic. Infinite health? Be able to heal infinite amount of times? Well, that answers that question. Yeah, it just crashes the game if you try to force use an empty item. And I actually exploit that to some decent extent coming up here, because crashing the game will allow me to, you know, get to reset the money spent, because everything that happened prior to, well, everything happened prior to me exiting that door has now been reset. And the funny thing is that, kind of screwing around with force crashing the game a few times, apparently the way that things spawn and everything like that, yeah, I forgot how that worked. Apparently the way that things spawn and everything is set on generation of the level and is not set, and the random elements are not set after you, you know, as you're going through the level, they're not set on the fly. So, for example, if I went over to the... Yeah, I forgot exactly how it worked again. I wanted to try to get it on the right slot, but it just wasn't functioning like I wanted to. So, whatever, on the left slot. Weird thing where you just go full Jesus, because apparently there's a slight hang time when you use a Knife Storm multiple times in a row. Is that useful at all? I don't know, about as useful as crow's wings are. Whatever. But anyway, the point what I was trying to make about generation is that the shop will have all of the same items in, even all of the same rerolls in there, as the first time I did it. Hey, the Architect's Key. Go get merchandise category. If you're wondering how to get a merchandise category, you just find that key somewhere around the level. Can be anywhere in the level, in one of the wall rooms. Then you go to the east side of the area, open up that door, and there's a blueprint in there called merchandise category. Then for 300 cells, you can be able to reroll shops like I'm doing right now. Well, not reroll shops, but set shops. So, as it turns out, Vampirism works the exact same way as using Tonic. Who could have possibly seen that coming? It crashes the game. Uh. Also, I thought it was interesting that apparently there is the restores 35% of health even on vampirism as well. I thought that was just a thing for tonic. So pretty much that makes vampirism just a better version of tonic, which is interesting. I mean, does it mean anything? No. I guess just pick up vampirism if you're in the market for vampirism. I don't know. And I already forgot that I did not have it set up. It's like using old style crow's wings. Unfortunately, I'm still not built for using tactics, so as neat as unleashing the power is, it's not that good. It does give you some pretty crazy air, though. Also, you cannot dive down while doing this to cancel it out like you can with normal crow's wings. There's so many instances of crow's wings going on that it just keeps you in the air despite that. Yeah, there was me experimenting to see just how high I could possibly get. It's on top of the castle, that's something. It's just like using crow's wings for the first time, when it was way weirder and glitchier. Good stuff, good stuff. And yeah, for all the bluster, the damage is terrible because I only have 5. Because I only have 5 tactics right now. Oh well, looks neat. Also, just extreme amount of noise. I'm probably going to be mixing the audio on this video down a little bit compared to normal. Can't even kill a single biter. That's how it's working. Also, I think I actually discovered that was there, but just totally by accident as I was trying to go through. Not that I need the Spartan sandals, but I don't know, maybe buy something else a little bit later. Who knows? Who cares? Well, at least that thing has little enough health that... Oh, there's the other secret entrance to that area. Yeah, at least the bats have like a minimal amount of health, so you don't actually have to worry about extremely poor damage I'm dealing here. And last thing there was what? The hook, whatever it's called. Hook also has apparently a baked-in cooldown. You can't use it like 50 times in a row, which is too bad. So it's pretty much the same as using a regular hook if it... It's pretty much the same as using a regular hook as if it were, if it had 0 cooldown. Also, I force crashed the game there just so I could not have spent that much money on the items in the shop. Pretty smart, eh? Eh? No, it's just wasting your time and my time? I probably should have edited this part out? What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about at all. Anyway. Yeah, I can check out the grenades then instead. I mean, all of these I've either seen already or, you know, who cares about seeing flashbang used 50 times in a row? Same thing, although... You know what? Magnetic grenade is overall the more interesting choice. And heavy grenade and infantry grenade, they're just grenades. I don't know. And I forgot how to set it up again. Whee! And pretty much what I wanted to do was not use the magnetic grenade to get to the end of the level. I wanted to use something... Well, first off, that I haven't used that much thus far, but I also haven't, but also is just overall more powerful and less likely to get myself killed because I only have a single charge of my flask left. Also, for no real reason, I wanted to grab the Architect's Key again. Why? Because it's there, and it's kind of hard to get. So, oh yeah, also 5-cell door. Woo! There you go, 5-cell door. I mean, it still doesn't do anything. Gotta wait for that magical 5th cell to come out. I guess I technically probably could have gone in there in Allah's mod, but at the same time, it would have just been the regular repository of the architects. I already got a video of that up. I even have a stream of it where I called on everybody else to solve what the mystery of it was. There was no mystery. It's just an unfinished area. So, yeah. Now, I could take a cursed chest, but let's be honest here. I've already taken a lot of pretty bad, pretty embarrassing hits. I don't think I need to lay that on myself anymore. And since I'm getting to the end of the area, throw down the poke bomb. It's not supposed to have a cooldown. Yeah, I really tried hard to get it into the right slot. It's just because that's... If I'm going to be using a primary skill, I like to have it in the right slot. And the Hunter's Grenade with a cooldown. First time for everything, eh? So just pretty much waiting out the cooldown there, and then... I threw out the wrong thing again. There you go. Jeez. Yeah, if you use the actual item, so for example, if I use the actual magnetic grenade, that throws out the Hunter's Grenade, which then removes it from your inventory and blah, blah, blah. You gotta go pick it back up, etc. You don't get infinite Hunter's Grenades as much as fun as that would be. Or as completely nonsensical as that would be, since I guess you could just... I mean, that would be an easy way to get infinite money for this ludicrously overpowered glitch that you don't need infinite money for. Another one of the nice things about doing this on 4-cell mode is that being able to fight all these elites does give me enough money to buy all of the items out of shops to test them out here. Be a lot harder to do that on just about any other mode. I mean, maybe 3-cell mode, but... Come on, if I'm going to be working with something that's ludicrously overpowered, why would I not want to go the maximum difficulty possible? Secret Forge. Didn't even realize that they had that in proper... they had that translated proper just yet. Yeah, the idea was that I was going to try to go for 2 times damage there, since I'm really not taken that much damage even with the 2x damage, but whatever. I mean, I'll spoil this for you right now. I'm only in the Sepulchre on this run in a little bit. I'm going to switch over to a purely throwing knives only just to show you the full and complete power of this. And yes, of course, how could I not do this? How could I not do this? It's like, yeah, you having trouble with the Sepulchre? Not me. Finally getting the infrastructure fixed around here, putting in a bunch of new lighting fixtures. Yeah, they're temporary, but there's so many of them that who cares? Also, I think that might be the one thing that will allow you to put a whole bunch of background objects into the game. So, it's a permanent way to kind of make the Sepulchre your own as well. Also does just god-awful damage. I mean, it technically poisons enemies around here and everything, but for... what, like a single hit point of damage per tick? Yeah, you can see a bunch of the broken pillars in the back there. That's silly, but whatever. Anyway, back into the other run. Like I said, the most powerful version of this here. Just tons and tons of knives. Knives coming out of every orifice, being thrown everywhere at all points in time. This is less about, showing off the goofy stuff you can do with this and more about showing off the ludicrously overpowered run that you can get with this. Also, because of the weird deal where you have that small amount of hang time, making it so that you can kind of glide in the air, it gives you a nice, I don't know, like, Jesus of Knives look. Flying in, spreading your knifely goodness across the land. Spilling blood everywhere. Like the real Jesus. So, like, is there even any strategy here? It's like, nah, I have 2 in brutality and 3 in survival. I did not even bother with anything because look at this. Look at this. Oh, an elite? Oh, no. See, it's like literally just a giant stream of knives coming out of me. Because at this point, what I did was I switched the primary tacking, which is, square. You can actually see down in the UI there. With the skill button, so I could press it a lot faster. And then alchemic gun, not rifle, is R2. Not that really matters. I'm not going to use it anyway, because why would I need to? So I initially reforged this into enemies that die while bleeding, propagate bleeding to everything else. And that's a great affix to get for any other time. But when I can almost kill an enemy by looking at it and then my eyes shoot out 1,000 knives at their face, what do I care about spreading extra bleed to enemies around there? I might as well just, you know, go over there and kill them myself with my knives. With the knives that I am apparently 100% comprised of. Hey, I get a second alchemic rifle gun here. The other thing is that, you know, I gotta wait to use this? Nah. Not when I got knives. I guess it does kill the kamikaze bats pretty easily, but so does getting next to them and shooting them. You know? Nah, the real affix that you want to go for, and the real thing that you want to be building for here is poison to enemies also bleed. I mean, it gives you a really nice, you know, Christmassy type flair, red and green. I mean, I'm not a huge fan. You know, they're complementary colors. They look nice next to each other. Do they always have to be, you know, for Christmas? Come on, give red and green a chance. Don't just say, oh, it must be the holidays. This is a stupid rant. Oh, I could crash the game again if I wanted to. And although, yeah, you might be able to do a little bit more damage, does it matter? How much damage do you need? You already have so much. Save some damage for other people. But yes, the poison and bleed pretty much just means extra stacks of damage every single time you hit an enemy. And you're hitting an enemy a lot, so like the math should be pretty obvious here is what I'm saying. Aside from taking maybe some darkness damage, this is... well, it's still not a 100% one run or anything. That is maybe the most embarrassing failure to grab onto a ledge that I have done in my entire Dead Cells career. To the point that, you know what? I'm not even going to go make that jump. I can just teleport up there and not worry about embarrassingly falling down again. But yes, and much like I was saying earlier in the video, it's not a just because you have this much damage and this much ability to deal damage, anything that's an elite, anything that's, you know, even somewhat powerful, especially when you're getting into the castle and especially the hand fight, that suddenly means that you're going to be able to deal a lot of stacks and stuff to them, but they are still going to be alive to hit you once or twice or a couple times or whatever. So that means that you are never really completely safe, because this isn't killing enemies immediately. And an enemy like the hand, for example, is going to scale too hard to allow you to totally murder him, because, you know, he is going to have more health than you would be able to do in just a couple seconds. And I don't think it's conceivably possible to one-shot bosses anymore. Maybe? Like, it definitely was back in the day. I have a video of it where I one-shot both the incomplete one and the Watcher, but I don't think you can do that at this point. I mean, I had a cursed sword with 1,000,000 damage per second, and I was unable to do that in the Brutal update. So, I want to say that I doubt it's going to be possible for the hand either. Yeah, I decided to curse myself. Why? Because I like living on the edge. I love edges, hence all the knives. Edges dude around. Also, I did grab alienation so I could get some healing out of it too. I did try to go a little bit harder on getting stats this time, which is why I have 20 tactics, and, you know, for some reason I decided to use my shield there for no real reason. And also not even bothering taking regular weapon here. Nah, it's all about that damage reduction. And yeah, I could go to the clock room, but no. But yeah, it's also a good thing that I got rid of that curse so quickly, because otherwise that could have been an issue, because I got hit almost immediately after that. Alright, biters, calm down here, you guys. Pretty easy to kill those elites, but like I said, getting into the castle, suddenly it actually means something to be elite, even in the face of this ridiculous carnage, this bloodbath, if you will. Still can't get anything from you. Maybe next time. But that does at least net me a single extra. That does at least net me a single extra survival, which can be pretty good, because again, I'm working pretty low on health in this run here. Because who needs health when you have knives? Let's go. Interesting that she apparently purges the negative debuffs or negative status effects or whatever when she goes into a second form. Not that helped her or anything, especially in the face of getting poisoned and bled at the same time. Yeah, when you're doing force sell, you're definitely going to have enough money to be able to re-roll reforge stuff as much as you want. Not nearly as true. Also 15%, only 15%. I put 4,000 cells in there and still not doing it. Whatever. I mean, it's fine, I guess. But yeah, I don't. It's not nearly as easy to reforge on lower cell difficulty, so I don't know if they're going to increase the cost to reforge on higher cell modes to try to compensate for the extra money you're getting, or if that's just considered a perk, infected, whatever. Or if that's just considered a perk of being able to be in 4-cell mode, you know, one of the things that kind of massages a little bit of the issues you're going to run into, just having enough money to afford not everything, because upgrading items is still pretty expensive, but most things. Thorny, as usual, did not stand a chance, like not even remotely close. However, take note of how many stacks the Guardian Knights there are taking before they're going down. Those dudes are tanky. Really, everything is. Because with the amount of stacks of bleed and poison that these dudes are taking, it looks like it should be, I don't know, rolling over or turning into a mega stack or something like that. It's a lot is what I'm getting at here. A little bit extra health, which, again, I still do have 2 points of infection. This isn't a... It's never a one run until it is. Ugh, I'm definitely getting hit by the tornado. I mean, they should have fixed it so that getting hit a bunch of times in a row will not give you a ton of infection, but I'm not entirely sure if that's true. I haven't tested it out, let's just say that. So, yeah, Mortuary and the double tracker fight. Man, look at how many stacks I got on those guys before they went down. Also, that might have been the first time that I've gotten to that fight and had them die separate from each other. Usually they're almost always right next to each other because of the placement of turrets, or nobody cares about this. I'm the only one that even thought of that. And I remember that I thought that at the time, too. Why? I don't know. There's a little insight into what I'm thinking when I'm recording these episodes. You know, as if the episodes that I do record live aren't... Whatever, anyway. Oh, there's a necklace that I left up there. Not that it really matters, but I did leave it up there. Yeah, just float right across the chasm. Does it do anything? No. I mean, this game is not much of a, you know... I don't know what you'd say. Not much of a platformer, so this weird little trick that you can do to make platforming easier doesn't actually matter in the grand scheme of things. After all, despite being referred to as a roguelike, which, you know, come on. How is this like Rogue in any way? Now, answer me that. Okay, come on, I can't be that guy. The time to be that guy was far too long ago. Well, actually, this is nothing like Rogue. It's more of a Metroidvania style game. Well, actually, Castlevania came far after the Symphony of the Night games, which coined the phrase Castlevania, came far after the original Metroid, which was obviously the originator of that genre in the first place. Anyway, I don't even know what I'm saying here. Oh, well, what about Castlevania 2? Get out of here. You know that doesn't count. You know for damn sure that doesn't count. Unless you're going to count, like, Faxanadu or whatever, too. Anyway, Death Orb. Can't use Death Orb multiple times. I just want to show that off there because I did have other time, like when I was initially doing this run, I grabbed Death Orb almost right away, but I didn't record that because, hey, this video is 50 minutes long already. How long do you need this thing to be? Yeah, I don't really think I need much of anything going on here. Maybe different mutations, I guess. Also, I noticed you can upgrade the Rusty Sword and like the basic shield and everything, but you can't upgrade the Hunter's Grenade. Not that matters or anything, but I don't know. They gave you the ability to upgrade the Rusty Sword. Well, anyway, Emergency Triage more for the ability to clear out infection than anything else. I don't think health is going to be all that much of a worry here. I've got a lot of damage reduction. Yeah, and he literally becomes invincible. Just stops taking damage. What a jerk. Also, take that, ugly worm. So, you're wondering how to beat the Hand of the King? Have you tried this? And just a little bit more for good measure. And that's... that's about all we're gonna see of this ridiculous, ludicrously broken build. Ludicrously broken nonsense here. I don't even know how it happened in the first place. Because switching weapons worked before. How did it get broken? I don't know. Like, how does this sort of thing break in the first place? When it was working? Bye, Hunter's Grenade. Well, that was fun.